Well, I think there's been some rescheduling of the rooms and agendas, and I don't see some of the people who signed up for this one. But, well, I guess since you guys are here, I will just get going anyway. Before I do, how many of you actually had experience with running Yang and the context of netconf mounts? Ah, okay, good. So, at least got a bit of a captive audience. Oh no. PowerPoint just keeps on crashing. So, I'm really here to pinpoint an item, a problem that we have uncovered in our use of ODL in the context of netconf and netconf mounted devices. And to us, it's a showstopper problem. By the way, I'm from Cisco, I'm Wojciech, but I work for the engineering organization, but we basically have a solution based on this that mounts Cisco XR devices, etc. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine that the project ODL can go on into a production network, especially with a customer, full production network without addressing this issue. Because operationally, this is a showstopper as I see it. And this issue is that really today, ODL, OpenDaylight, through its mounted data store, is unable to support devices with heterogeneous versions of the same model. Meaning, if you've got device A and device B, both of them, let's say, supports IETF interfaces model, but device A supports a different revision date than device B, well, chances are, depending on what your application has been coded to, which revision of the model, operations to one of the devices will surely fail. And they will fail with a characteristic signature of unable to normalize paths. This is actually contrary to the RFC, to the Yang RFC, which says, well, the contract, the API contract, as offered by the Yang model, is with the model name, and the revision says, well, there's stuff added, but it's backwards compatible. Now, the failure that I mentioned is really this one. I tried to, well, it's very small, but failure to normalize paths, and it just, it's only detectable through the logs and through the fact that, well, stuff ain't working. So in this particular case, I just show. So it's it's not even from error message. It's not even it just tells you something that went wrong with the Yang. It doesn't say that it's a Yang version incompatibility.
And it's ironic that the backwards compatible transaction is in that stack.
Yes. So, well, the usability. I think there are at least two issues to be addressed. One is, for me as ODL, I'm not actually involved in the writing of the netconf driver and the MD-SAL guts, but more on the application side. And clearly, Yangtools today, it generates Yang model APIs, including in the Java class, the revision date. So each time somebody freaking changes the Yang model to revise it, I got to change, search and cut and replace the whole code and ship ODL, ship a new version of ODL. That doesn't work. That really sucks big time. So it's not only for customers; it's a pain point for I think anybody who's having a commercial intent about an OpenDaylight controller. Solution here is evident. Do not bake the revision dates into the API signature. So the generated code should not have that. I wish I had somebody from the Yangtools team, but comment. But I guess we'll have to do a rain check on that one. The second aspect, which is more under the hood, is of course that such transactions should be allowed. in sets of cases, meaning, yes, the Yang model provides backwards compatibility, but there, of course, will be cases, especially if your application is using an API revision that is newer than what is supported on the device. Well, that newer revision means that something's been added to that model, and clearly the device might not be aware of it. It's not a mandatory change, or sorry, it cannot be a mandatory change because that would break the Yang RFC, but such a transaction still should be allowed, and in that case, I think it's fair to fail at runtime. Basically, to give an error message saying, "Gee, well, okay, you gave me some information. Warren, I have a device here that actually is of an older type than you're telling me to, and doesn't understand the data node." So those are the two, I think, evidence issues, and we have the experts on the topic here.
Not experts, the implementation guys.
Not the expert on the implementation?
Yeah, I'm expert on the implementation. I designed it.
Well, there you go. So that's what I said. We have the expert. And there are, of course, more complex cases to deal with special Yang things like deviations and the deprecation of nodes, which can happen in revised models. But still, they cannot be mandatory ones. So, well, at least there's a saving grace. But I think the first point, from a Yangtools perspective, is what I was explaining earlier. Tony, is evident that not to bake the revision date into the API signature, and two, the data normalizer. Well, it needs to allow. Well, it needs to handle.
So what you are actually asking about is to downgrade the model or to upgrade the model. But practically you are asking for us when we detect the situation that, okay, the device is a newer model, and we are assuming that the author of the model is behaving according to RFC 1620 rules. That's the harder part. To make that assumption that the author is behaving according to 1620 rules.
Well, so I think we should be. I mean, since we're following RFC 6020,
yeah.
we should be going along with that premise.
We should just switch the revisions to newer ones if possible, right?
Yes. So whatever the data normalizer needs to do to make it work, yes. But from an API perspective, I think it's not entirely sensible for Yangtools to be generating the API signature.
That cannot change now. This could be part of the binding specification V2, but binding specification V1 is pretty much frozen in that sense. It creates the Java APIs, and OpenDaylight API policy is we need to deprecate it in one release, and fix it in the secondary release, remove it in the secondary release. So it means we will have one release with both versions of the APIs, and just omitting that will change the APIs of all the projects in OpenDaylight.
Well, so let me take a.
For the binding specification
Yeah.
V2, but in the binding specification V1, we cannot fix that.
So let me take a.
This will change the binding specification. Actually.
So maybe a step back. From an application developer's perspective, I certainly do not.
Understand both positions.
Yes. So just to make sure that everybody's here in the same room, we don't want to be in a situation whereby there's a new device in the network, supports a newer model, and we gotta recompile the code through cut and paste because of a new revision date. Okay,
So this could be addressed in port, not barely. The package get generation.
Well, so because you see, I'm taking a step back, saying if you can still generate the API with the revision date, it's not entirely great, but and solve the issue on the normalizer side or whatever.
Okay.
So basically, for me as an application developer, I don't want to be cut and searching and as an OpenDaylight commercial distributor, I don't want to be sending out a new OpenDaylight image to customers because of a new Yang model on devices, which today is the case. If that can be solved on the data normalizer, then I guess from the let's say visible semantics, or the path of the URI, the class name of the URI, we could live with that. But I think it will be, of course, preferable not to have that's in the class name at all.
Yeah. So I need someone who could work on that. It's not too hard, actually.
So which part is the second part, right? The normalizer.
Yeah. Could work automatically. If someone is interested in contributing back, this is a 5-day work.
But if I may ask, what if not this is on the plan for Beryllium?
On the plan of Beryllium, there is an item which is called data migration utilities, and that's one of them actually. It's not all of them, that's one of them.
Okay. And how many contributors do we have? Is this a, I mean?
No, actually, we will be doing that, but if someone is interested how to contribute back to the OpenDaylight, this is a easy topic which we'll learn how to use the DOM APIs.
I mean, because you're sounding as if it's like, okay, it's a nice problem, you recognize it, but you're not going to work on it.
No. I will work on it.
Okay.
I'm just saying it's easy, nice how to learn the other part of the OpenDaylight and how actually OpenDaylight internally works.
All right.
So if someone is interested in contributing there, into helping us with that problem here in the room.
So just so it's clear, you're talking about changing the default of the package names to not
No,
include.
I'm talking about actually migrating the situation because OpenDaylight is designed in the way that it could support multiple revisions of the same model at a time. Is that between the netconf and application communication, you will instantiate a component which will see when it sees the data marked with the old revision, just swap it for the newer revision in order to send that to the device. That's pretty much to it. And if you are going to the other way around, you will just omit the data since if we established that this solution and we are assuming that people are the model authors are RFC 6020 compliant. So if you are going the other way around, you will left over the data which are in the newer revision of the model, but aren't present in the older revision of the model. That's all we do it.
But shouldn't the server side be doing actually that in terms of ignoring any data that it doesn't understand? So if the application sends newer data, newer revision data, and the device.
We are making the assumption about the servers, and servers should respond actually with the data failure if you are sending the data they do not understand. So your transaction will automatically fail if you are sending a newer data to the device with the older model revision. So this is an API contract. If a device is using an older model, you cannot send him the data from a newer model because he will not understand the data. That's enough reason for any valid implementer to actually cancel your transaction and to throw an error because you want to configure me something I do not understand.
Right, but it's not mandatory, right? Because the API contract is given by the name, so it's not. Surely it's an optional thing. So
I would assume most of the implementations will actually throw it. Of the netconf implementations will report back with error that there are data which are not according to our configuration model. And if you look into RFC 6241, I believe there is an static error code for that, that you are sending the data which are not according to the model. For example, RESTconf, if you are sending the data which are not described in the currently loaded model, will send you an error back that your data is malformed. So in order to actually, if you are using the newer model and want to communicate with older model, you need to know the meaning of the older model and omit all the configuration which was added in the new model. To do that seamlessly, but that would be incorrect, and more preferable is actually to throw an error that data contains additional data are contained which are present only in the newer model, because I do not know your intention. May I omit this data or may I not? So when I'm writing to the device and you are using the data from the newer model, the safest way to do is to throw an error. These data are not supported by device.
That, I mean, we have to, I guess, read the RFC, but it seems to be going counter to the notion that revisions and the model name is a contract, because if you have this behavior, then basically there's no contract.
If you are sending the data which fits into the small, so the problem is the communication, but your application is written against the older model, and you are using the device with the newer model. Given that RFC 1620, newer model is always superset of the older model, means that device understands everything from the older model.
Yes.
So that's easy. You could configure, read, it works. If you read, you will not see the newer data because you do not understand. But if application is written against the newer model and you are communicating against the old device with the older model, device with the older model understands only the subset of your vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
And given that you have a utility which automatically translates the data to the older revision, I can safely translate all the data which were present in the older revision.
Yes.
But if you try to configure something which were added in the newer revision, I cannot omit that. I can only throw an error at you. I can only raise an error because I don't understand your intent. May I omit this data, or this data are critical to your configuration?
Okay. Yeah, that's.
I cannot do that. That's only error state.
So that's what I mentioned here. That it's okay. It's okay to fail that at runtime generate a log, but for the things that are common to the both models, that will pass, right? If I just send the data.
That may pass. Yeah.
Okay.
That could work.
Okay. So yeah, that sounds reasonable. So, anybody interested on working on this project? On this product? The problem. Sorry. Yeah, it's a nitty-gritty one. And this is a controller, right? Aspect, or Yangtools. Where does this live?
This could be done in the Yangtools, and this will also require some work in the netcom, not in the controller.
Okay. All right, so that's it. So we're saying for Beryllium it is on the plan.
It is on the plan.
Okay. Good. Thank you.